The Warhammer 40,000 starter set. Everyone knows that starter sets are the cheapest way to build your own army. Champions win tournaments by mastering their army list. But can you actually win competitive games if you buy a starter set? Should you even buy a starter set? When I first started 40k, I bought a starter set before I knew what I really needed. And I'm starting to think I should have bought something else. Because after spending months researching how army units interact with each other, I began to notice a pattern. That the process of building an army can be simplified down to two overarching strategies of building synergy and complementing units. These are what determine your army's power level and threat responsiveness. And you need to take these strategies into account when choosing your army units, detachment, and enhancements. Let's look at synergies. In the Ultimate Starter Set, you have two options for who will lead the unit of Terminators, either the Terminator Captain or Librarian. Based on the points cost alone, the Captain would seem like the more powerful choice. But the Librarian actually brings more synergy, not only because he gives the squad sustained hits, but if you take the Firestorm Assault detachment, then you can give the Librarian the Forged in Battle enhancement, and once per turn, you can change a single hit roll into a 6. Think about it. You can take a roll that missed, and turn that into a success that generates a second successful hit using the Veil of Time ability. Synergy. The Infernus squad also benefits from the Firestorm Assault detachment. With the close range eradication rule, all ranged weapons gain the Assault ability, and the strength of those weapons is increased by 1. Now, when they get within 6 inches of the enemy, use the Crucible of Battle stratagem to add 1 to the wound roll. Altogether, that means you would be wounding standard infantry on 2-ups, and elite infantry on 3-ups, on a weapon that hits automatically and ignores cover. And since you have the Captain and Terminator armor available to your army, this would be a good time to use Rites of Battle to make Immolation protocols cheaper to get devastating wounds for the Infernus squad. Synergy. What about Tyranids? Alone, the Winged Tyranid Prime is actually rather weak, but with the right detachment, it's deadly. The Stalker enhancement for the Vanguard Onslaught detachment can power up the Winged Prime to focus down a single unit by adding 1 to hit and wound rolls. But if you prefer to use the Winged Prime to fly around and take objectives, then using the Chameleonic enhancement grants stealth and cover against ranged attacks. And turn 1, use the Seated Brood stratagem to allow the Prime to deep strike on the very first round. But even Termagants can benefit from this detachment even without matching keywords, because the entire army will get Questing Tendrils, which allows them to fall back and charge in the same turn. Combine this with their Skulking Horrors ability and they'll be moving all over the table. But your Von Ryan's Leapers will benefit the most from this detachment. If you give any character the Neuronode enhancement, then after deployment, the Leapers can redeploy to another location. This means that you can use their infiltration to screen out enemy infiltrators in the midfield. Then, just before battle begins, move them to a safer position. Up to 3 units with the Vanguard Invader keyword can use this. That includes the Winged Prime, and he can even go back into strategic reserves for the turn 1 deep strike that I already talked about. And both units can benefit from the Assassin Beast stratagem to take out enemy characters. Now these are just a few of the synergies that I've been researching. So if you're getting value out of this video, I really need subscribers right now. So, deep strike that subscribe button, and in return, I will make a new series of Warhammer videos like this one if I reach 1,000 subscribers. Now the second category for building a winning army is complementary units. These are unit combinations which fill the gaps where one unit is weak. You'll want to think about this as you add new units to your army, or consider buying something different than a starter set, but I'll talk about that later. For Space Marines, the starter set lacks vehicles. Actually, these Space Marines lack anything with long-range attacks. This is where tanks and walkers can fill in the gaps. In particular, vehicles with las cannons and missile launchers are a good option to get damage done at a distance. And if you want to move vehicles more to the front, you can use the Gladius Task Force detachment for the tactical doctrine when you get caught in melee, and get those vehicles out of engagement range so that you can use your blast weapons again. Speeders can also benefit from the extra movement. Alternatively, you can use the Vanguard Spearhead detachment, which will subtract 1 from enemy hit rolls made from over 12 inches away, and grant cover. Combine this with an infiltrator squad who can screen out against deep strikes, and your tank can camp out on the home objective and safely take out enemies from a distance. More on that in a later video. If you like the synergies I mentioned from the Firestorm Assault detachment, then you definitely want to get transports, because not only will you get extra defense and movement, but several Firestorm stratagems are specifically designed for them. Just make sure that you are getting transports that can actually carry the units that you have. Land Raiders and Repulsors are good all-around options, or an Impulsor for Infernus Squad in particular. But if you are just getting started with any kind of starter set, then you should probably avoid the Rhino or Razorback, no matter what someone told you at the game store. The Rhino and Razorback are really meant for older units, and none of the units in the starter set can even go in those transports. The same with all Primaris models. This is gonna get phased out eventually. The Tyranids only come with one monster in the box. You're gonna want to buy one of these. The Norn Emissary has ridiculous defense, and by using Reinforced Hive Node in the Synaptic Nexus detachment to reduce incoming AP, this thing can outlast a squad of Terminators. The real beauty of this brute is that he can get up in the enemy's face and unleash a stratagem like the Smothering Shadow. More on that later. For some damage at a distance, again something lacking in the starter set, the Tyrannifex or Exocrine are great options. Similar to the Gladius detachment for Space Marines, their Override Instinct stratagem will allow these heavy hitters to fall back from engagement and then shoot with their blast weapons, as long as they stay within Synapse range. Which brings me to the regrets I have about the Ultimate Starter set. A Neurotyrant is essential for Synaptic Nexus. The Power of the Hive Mind enhancement is only useful on this or a Swarm Lord. But if you place Dirgeheart of the Chorus on another character, have a Death Leaper on the front lines and a Neurotyrant on the field, with the updated rules, you're looking at a debuff of 3 or 4 when you trigger a Battle Shock test. Suddenly, forced Battle Shock tests become a viable tactic. On top of using Shadow in the Warp, you can use Neurolectors, Death Leapers, and Screamer Killers to trigger even more Battle Shock tests. Then use the Smothering Shadow stratagem to inflict even more damage on the units that failed the test. The thing is, the Screamer Killer and the Neurotyrant actually came in the Leviathan box set, and for Space Marines, there was a Ballistus Dreadnought which has a las cannon, which is great with the Stormfire stratagem in Gladius Task Force to take out high armor vehicles hidden in cover. The Lieutenant with Combi Weapon was also in the Leviathan box. This model has been showing up like crazy in high-level tournament play. It's great with the Vanguard Spearhead using the Shadow War Veteran enhancement, because with current rules, he can make enemy stratagems more expensive when he gets into close range. Also in the box is an Apothecary Biologus, which is great for leading Eradicators who can re-roll hit, wound, and damage rolls. Put Fire Discipline on him, and all of a sudden the unit has lethal hits, sustained hits, can re-roll a bunch, and while using the Devastator Doctrine, 5-ups count as critical hits. How's that for synergy?